Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Good morning and welcome to Top Story, 7360300, the number to call. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Kelly.
I am outraged.
Already? We haven't even said hello yet.
I know.
What happened?
I know.
What did I miss?
There is a horse thief in town.
Oh, no.
A horse thief, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, no.
Employees at a Twin Falls Western clothing store want their horse back. Thieves somehow nabbed the giant plastic equine that stands atop Vickers Western store roof sometime Monday night.
Oh.
Somebody took the horse.
You know, it's been up there how long?
Well, one of the employees said since 1962.
I mean,
but they
just at
have
their
not,
location.
At their location, which they haven't been where they're at right now since 1962. But when they were on Shoshone Street, here where Canyon Pond is now, I remember seeing that horse on top of
I think I remember, too. I think I was still living here at the time. So my question is...
Who's got the horse?
And what took them so long? I'm surprised the thing wasn't stolen before.
Well, and they apparently...
You think kids or pranks or was it bolted down? Like, how did they keep the horse?
Apparently they did some damage to the roof getting it off. So,
what's wrong with people?
But police are checking the store's security footage.
Yeah.
In hopes of getting a better look at the culprits. So we might
How do
be
you
able
get
to see
it down without, what do you do? Throw it down? Does it not break? Do you not? What are you going to do with it? Are they going to pawn it? Dave at Canyon Pond, go check it out when a horse comes in.
Hey, this is cool. Let's put this up on the roof just for fun.
Oh my gosh! Why? You want? Is it kids? Is it a prank?
That's probably a prank.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close to Halloween.
It's a
they
horse.
used to burn down haystacks, so I guess stealing plastic horses, things have improved a little bit, I guess. Unless, of course, your Vickers Western store.
They said it was worth what, like $3,000? Is that what they said?
I don't know. I didn't.
I think that's what I heard
story.
in the news story. On KMVT, I think they said it was worth $3,000.
Well, 3,000. That's different than 30,000. Which
I didn't
just
say
said.
30.
I
I
thought
said
you said
30,000.
So
you never listened to me.
Well, what?
3,000.
Anyway.
But anyway, I hope they get the horse back.
I
mean, how do you even fit it into your car? Like, what do you just put in the truck? Like, what do you do?
Well, they must have had a pickup or something.
Put a bit around its neck, and no one will know the difference. A saddle on it.
Walk it down the street. Hey, this is Idaho. Nobody would
there's
pay
a
any
horse. Okay, yeah.
I've seen horses in the middle of town. Well, during Western days. I don't know. So anyway, if anybody has any clue as to where the horse is, the plastic horse that goes on top of Vickers Western store, the police would like to hear from you.
Oh, my.
So there you go.
Anyway, come on, people. Let's be nice to one another.
On a speaking of that, and on a more serious note, in Canada yesterday, a terrorist attack, an actual terrorist attack. But the Canadian capital thrown into panic and placed in lockdown after a gunman armed with a rifle or shotgun fatally wounded a corporal guarding their Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at the National War Memorial, then entered the nearby Parliament building and fired multiple times before he was shot and killed. It was the second deadly assault on a uniformed member of Canada's armed forces in 3 days. The Ottawa attack heightened fears that Canada, a strong ally of the United States in its campaign against the Islamic State militant group convulsing in the Middle East, had been targeted in a reprisal, either as part of an organized plot or a lone wolf assault by a radicalized Canadian. Law enforcement authorities in Washington said their Canadian counterparts had identified the assailant as Michael Zahoff Bebo, who had changed his name from Michael Joseph Hall and said he had been a convert to Islam. The Canadian Broadcast Corporation said he had a criminal history of offenses that included robbery and drug possession. So here we go with another convert to Islam, another terrorist coward cowering and hiding behind their head covers and acting in a lone wolf type fashion, just like we had in Oklahoma City, which we are calling workplace violence. So at least Canada is calling it what it is.
Well, we did ask Grant Loebs about this. It was off air. The difference between if you have a terrorist crime, if you have a homicide, and he said when you have something like that, just like a hate crime, then it's more difficult to get into the person's head to try to figure out and you really want to convict the guy, and you want to convict him on homicide.
And he also went on to say it's more of a political thing, which it is
Well, it
in the
is.
United States.
It
is a political
thing. Yeah, to
So-
say, why isn't it well, now you have to do a few more things to prove it, to figure out what the person's thinking, just like in a hate crime.
Yeah, but you know
and you want to convict the guy.
You call a spade a spade. I mean, it was and I don't want to get off on a big long thing
But
about
if he
that.
goes to jail,
I
he goes to
consider
jail.
it a terrorist attack. Oklahoma City was attacked, or what was it? Moore, Oklahoma, was attacked by a terrorist on that day, and they just won't call it that. So, at any rate,
well, they probably want to convict the guy. There you go, convict the guy.
Sad day in Canada. At a news conference, the Ottawa Police and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police declined to specify how many more gunmen, if any, they thought they might be seeking. So, but anyway, I guess the entire town of Ottawa was on pretty much lockdown during this time.
Yeah, and the National Hockey League, their game was postponed.
Okay, in Canada, things are getting serious when they postpone a hockey game.
That's true.
I mean, I'm saying that.
Do you know what hockey is?
I mean, it's like their national anthem.
Well, it's like football here. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, they like hockey. We like football.
I don't know.
People like soccer.
I think even hockey is a bigger deal in Canada than football is here. And I know football is a big deal here. Don't get me wrong.
Deal.
But I think in Canada, it's a religion in Canada.
Anyway, it was also delayed. So the game was delayed.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
I turned on the radio.
Hi, Kelly.
Good morning.
Hello.
It's interesting that Jill is defending this guy over in Canada, not wanting to call him a terrorist, as well as the person who beheaded the woman there in Oklahoma. I heard a word of advice here recently, Kelly. It was to never argue with an idiot, because they'll bring you down to their level and then beat the crap out of you with experience.
You know what? I don't know who you're referring to as an idiot.
I don't think you were defending this guy.
I wasn't defending him. What we were saying was when you call, you were saying it was domestic or workplace violence. It was a homicide. We asked, is there a problem when you add a different label to it? It's harder to convict. That was the point, and you want them convicted. So that's the point, and they say it was political, which clearly it is.
Well, yeah, I mean, nobody wants to call this kind of attack in America a terrorist attack, because then that shows a bad light on the administration, which claims that we are safer now than we ever have been. So that's where the politics comes in. All I'm saying is that it was a terrorist attack, just like it was in Canada yesterday. And believe me, folks, we're going to see more of this. This is just the beginning.
We have seen it all along. We had 2 airplanes fly into our World Tower. We had the towers attacked before that. We've had Michael McVeigh.
It's usually been organized. We're going to see these lone wolf attacks, which is what the so-called leader of this wacko ISIS organization has called for. He said on Twitter, followers of the Islamic State praised the attack and warned of more to follow. In an audio message last month, the Islamic State spokesman Abu Muhammad al-Adnani exhorted sympathizers to carry out revenge killings and included Canadians on the list of target nationalities. And I quote, "If you can kill a disbelieving American or European, especially the spiteful and filthy French, or an Australian or a Canadian or any other disbeliever from the disbelievers waging war, including the citizens of the countries that entered into a coalition against the Islamic State," talk about a run-on sentence, then rely upon Allah to kill him in any manner or way, however it may be, Adnani says. And we have so many wackos in this country and around the world. We're going to see more of this.
But we've had plenty of wackos to this point. We had the guy at the Holocaust Museum. You had McVeigh. You've had how many school shootings? Those guys are wackos. Gabriel Giffords. We've had attacks forever, for years and years and years. Nothing's getting better, and we will be prepared for more.
But this is going to be on the part of ISIS. This is going to be from people who are sympathizers of this wacko so-called organization. These are nothing but idiotic, stupid devils in flesh who are infecting our world. And until we get rid of this vermin and this filth, this stuff is going to continue. It's just going to get worse. And now we have teenage girls running over to Syria so they can be concubines with these wacko idiots. I mean, for crying out loud, there must be something in the water or something where these people are going crazy. They are wackos. They have no right to live.
Okay. Well, you know what? You can't wipe out all evil and you can't wipe out terror. And you know what? You do your best to stop it.
I'm just saying that as a warning.
And you do your best to stop. Well, you do your best to stop it. And the FBI stopped the girls and they stop a lot of things. And so you only just have to be aware. But what else can you do? It's going to continue. What can you do? Every day we have, something. Someone's being shot. If it's not in a school, it's in an office building. If it's not some this or that, someone blowing it. This is what our world is like now.
Consequently, last night, a man who jumped the White House fence Wednesday night suffers from mental problems and has been arrested there before, according to his father. Dominic Adesanya, 23, of Bel Air, Maryland, barely made it into the lawn before he was subdued as he fought two police dogs.
Oh, finally they let the dogs. Finally, they let the dogs out.
They didn't wait. Dog got him, a Secret Service spokesman said. And I just saw a video of this guy beating the hell out of one of the dogs.
I know. I didn't want to see that.
I know.
Two of the dogs were injured.
Adesanya has been charged with 2 counts of felony assault on a police officer for attacking the canine dogs, 4 counts of resisting an unlawful entry, and 1 count of making threats. So, I don't know, more wackos on the way, folks. Hey, I just want to say this is a busy day today. We're going to talk about over 60 and fit next here on Top Story. At 8:30, we've got the Cops with the Bad Guys list. I'm expecting Sergeant Ken Menzel from the County Sheriff's Department.
Oh, good.
At 8:40, we have Bob Keegan, who is running for re-election on the CSI Board of Trustees. At 9 o'clock, we have Democrat candidate for Secretary of State Holli Woodings joining us.
We've got a packed day. So listen up and ask questions.
Absolutely. And
then important elections coming up.
Yeah, and coming up after that, we've got some other stuff to talk about. It's funny. It's either feast or famine, and today is one of those days.
Well, when you got political seasons.
Oh yeah.
And you have to offer it to both parties, so it starts getting crowded.
Yep,
but this is the time to get educated.
I've already
people.
sent a request to Lawrence Denny's campaign for equal time, so it's an ongoing thing.
Ongoing.
So. We'll be right back here on Top Story, 7360300. Fit and over 60. I'm the absolute specimen of that, Jill. You laugh.
I do laugh.
7360300, the number to call here this morning on Top Story. We're going to be talking to Shelley Wright about the Over 60 and Fit program at CSI. But first,
Kelly's going to listen up specifically for him, too.
Yeah, I know. I need to sign up, but I'm kind of as fit as I'm going to be for a while.
Okay,
I just have
do
too
the
many
ad.
things
Just
going
do
on.
the ad.
I'm going to do the ad
Fine.
for Far More of Idaho. No more moving pipe, no more borders, no more having to spray around the field, no more costly labor to move the pipe. They've got a new pipe system. It's called CertaSet. So how does that work, you ask? Well, I would suggest you call the folks at Far More of Idaho because they know much more about this than do I. I know that's hard to believe, but there's some things even I don't know. So the folks at Far More of Idaho will talk to you about CertaSet, and this is a good time because we're kind of winding down on the irrigation season, and next year we'll be starting up again. So this kind of gives you 3 or 4 months to look into this and decide, this might be something for me. 324-3341 is the number to call, and you can also catch them online at farmoreofidaho.com. Shelley Wright is the director of the Over 60 and Getting Fit program at CSI. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning.
I better turn your mic up here.
That always helps with an interview.
Yeah, it does.
Good morning.
So tell us about the program.
Well, we have about 1,300 people in the program that are over 60 that come and exercise 3 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week.
1,300?
At CSI?
At CSI, well, all over the valley.
All over the valley, yes.
But they're all CSI classes, correct.
Okay, so
it's amazing. You should see them. It's great.
What kind of exercise? What are they doing? And what can one expect? Let's say you're
Say you're Kelly class, you're over 60.
You're just about 62, a little bit overweight, and just could use a little kind of some touch-up.
Oh, we have so much to offer. We have specialty classes, Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, weightlifting. We have so many specialized classes, and then we have the big class, the over 60 class, where we come in and we do cardio and body weight exercises and just everything you can think of. We do it and we enjoy it and enjoy
They
each
do.
other.
They have a great time. Now you guys are trying to break a Guinness World Record.
Yes, the longest line of carved pumpkins in the world.
Now who would know that was even a record?
And how is that related to exercise?
Yeah.
Hey, like I said, we have fun too. Well, you know what? I just found, I did some research at Guinness and found a record that I thought was doable. And so I presented it to the class. They loved the idea. And so then we just took it from there and we presented it to the community. We're bringing it to the community as a community event to just let people come enjoy and be on campus, hear about us, what we're doing, and have fun.
So what do they have to do? How do you just bring in a carved pumpkin or something?
Yes, we're asking the public to carve a pumpkin, and it must have Guinness rules: eyes, eyebrows, nose, and mouth carved out. So it must be a traditional pumpkin.
Ooh.
And we made it so easy. All you have to do is drive into the Falls Avenue entrance at CSI, drop your pumpkin off. We'll take it, drive up, drop off. We'll take the pumpkin, we'll line it, put it in line for you, and we'll give you a ticket for the raffle prizes that we have.
Oh my
And then you can go
goodness.
park, enjoy the events that are happening on campus. There's lots of things happening on campus that day.
And this is this Saturday.
That's this Saturday, yes.
So you drop off the pumpkins between what time?
9 and 1. You can drop them off early. I'll be there at 6. So you can drop them off early, but we will only start lining them at 9 o'clock once we have the officials there to officiate us.
So you have to actually have Guinness officials here?
They're not actually from Guinness, but we had to have someone act upon them.
Okay.
So where are you going to line them up? Outside around the campus?
It will be outside in front of the library. We're going to do a serpentine line right in front of the library, so it'll be in a smaller area.
How long does it have to be in order to beat the record?
Well, it has to be 1,302 to break that record. The distance does not matter. It's the number, and they all have to be touching, shoulder to shoulder.
Shoulder to shoulder.
So average size of a pumpkin, that's approximately a quarter of a mile.
It could be. The first record was about 1/8 of a mile. So I have 1.5 miles mapped up. So we're going for big.
So is it length or is it numbers?
It's numbers, actually numbers.
Okay.
We do have to turn in the length, but the numbers are what gets us the record.
Okay.
So you just have to carve it.
People could bring in 4-foot pumpkins and beat that.
Yeah, no,
it's 1,302, Kenny. So what else are you going to be having going on that day?
Oh, golly, we have lots going on. We have vendors that'll be there. Falls Brand has given hot dogs to have. The Coke will be there. There's popcorn and coffee and ice cream. So lots of vendors, lots of things food you can purchase and buy. Our very own National Sweetheart will be there for pictures and autographs. We'll have all the raffle items on.
That's Callie Wright.
Kaylee Wright.
Kaylee Wright. Is that your daughter? Are
That's
you
my
related?
daughter, yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations. All right. I wonder how you got her. How did you book her? I'm kidding. That's fabulous. So, and also they can win what, $1,000 prize package from Bish's RV?
Yes, Bish's RV has actually told us what the prize package will be. It will be a little Tex Traeger barbecue smoker.
Oh, those are cool.
Every guy wants one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a man thing.
It is.
Man thing.
That's right.
I wouldn't mind it either, though.
I know it. So the raffle drawing starts at 1:30.
Yes.
You have to be present to win.
You have to be present to win.
Okay, we're just about out of time, so let's go over this again. And is there some place folks can go to get more information or a phone number or something they can call?
Yes, go to csi.edu. Call me on my phone number, 732-6483, and we'll get you more information as well.
And that's coming up this Saturday. Starting time is
9 o'clock till 1 o'clock.
To
That's
drop off
CSI.
your pumpkins. That's
All right.
exciting. I hope you guys make it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Shelley Wright from you are the director of the Over 60 and Getting Fit program at CSI.
Keep up the good work. And Kelly's retiring the end of December, so maybe you'll see him in January. If I have anything to do with it. Anyway, thank you, Shelley.
Coming up, we have Sergeant Ken Menzel from the Twin Falls County Sheriff's Department. He's got a couple of bad guys.
Oh, good.
736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. You know what? I'll just wait and I'll postpone this.
Okay.
Because we have a very important guest with us this morning.
Bad boys, what you want, what
We have Sergeant Ken Menzel with the Twin Falls County Sheriff's Department. Good morning, Sergeant.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
We are
Good.
doing swell. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here. Good to see Jill back.
Well, thank you. I'm glad someone missed me.
Yeah, because this is your first time back since you got back.
It is.
You
So I
weren't
was
here
on
last Monday
vacation.
because that was the city's time.
Right.
So I'm sure
City
it just
place.
did not feel the same, did it?
It didn't.
Thank
Just
you.
not the same without you.
Thank
Well,
you.
you got a couple of bad people for us today.
I do. Yep. The first one is Michael David Posey Birch, last name spelling B-U-R-C-H. $25,000 warrant for failure to appear on a DUI.
Oh, no.
27 years old. He's 6'1", 175 pounds, brown hair and blue eyes. We'd like to find Mr. Birch and help him appear in front of the judge so that he can get that taken care of.
Give them a little assistance.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think
understood.
it's his first DUI, if it's that high, or do you think he could have had a couple?
Either that or he's eluded being in court for so long. The judge just upped his bond to $25,000.
My.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
You're never going to win, people. They're going to find you.
Eventually.
Like,
that's right.
why don't they learn, you know?
Kylie Hoff is the next one. These individuals are both from the Twin Falls area. Kylie's got a $20,000 warrant for frequenting a drug premise.
Okay.
And Kylie's 20 years old. She's 5'11", 145 pounds with brown hair and blue eyes.
So what's frequenting a drug premise?
So,
Just where they're like, what, a crack house or meth house or
yeah,
something?
anytime we go in and to a residence and we arrest somebody for drugs and we know the owner, the renter, the place that we're into has been using controlled substance, people who are there at the same time or coming and going while we're there can be arrested on a misdemeanor charge for frequenting, especially if we can tie into the fact that there's a specific
They're
purpose
using-
as to why
yeah.
they're there, or they're using. Yeah, it's obvious.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Wow. It is interesting.
So if you're not involved with it, stay away from it. right?
Absolutely.
They always
especially-
say that if someone had your parents would tell you if someone had a joint in the car and you're driving, you're going to get in trouble
Yeah.
too. And
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. There's been times when we've been on a search warrant at a house, and while we're there, the phone will ring, and we'll pick the phone up, and people will ask if we're selling.
Ah.
We'll invite them to come by. Of course we're selling.
course.
We'd love to meet you in person.
you're like, who was the reporter, Hansen, and he had the pedophiles. They, had a little girl. Anyway,
Yeah,
on I forget whatever show, but anyway, Nightline or something.
right.
Oh,
Yeah, entrapment.
yeah.
They'd have them come
Yeah.
over and, oh, sure, I want to be with you.
Yeah, we were just over here to talk about God.
Yeah.
I just came over
Yeah.
here to try to, right.
Right.
That's right. So anybody with information who wants a little cash reward this time of year, 732-5387 Crime Stoppers, or dispatch 735-1911.
Okay, so this year, Halloween is on a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine how excited the police are with this.
Oh, I
'Cause
always,
Friday night always seems a little bit more problems to
More
happen. than
mischievous.
Yeah.
I always used to dread, I'm the patrol sergeant working Halloween night. Oh, joy. What's in store for us tonight?
Are you? Are you going to be doing it this
I'm
year?
not. No, I'm not.
Oh, wow. You got that night off?
I did get that night off.
You're going to go trick-or-treating, huh?
I may. Yeah, actually we are.
Are you going to dress up as a cop?
The sheriff's office is actually doing the Bishop's RV thing
Oh,
down
right,
at Fred
right,
Oh,
Meyer.
that's right. Yeah,
right.
you'll be down there with us.
Yeah, so we'll be down there from 3 to 6.
Well, that'll be fun.
Okay.
Hopefully, maybe they'll put you right next to us, then we can just sit and talk.
That'd be
you
great.
know? Yeah,
Absolutely.
that'd be
Let's say,
fun.
what's your costume?
Hand out
I am my
candy.
cousin.
You're
Yeah.
looking at it.
That's
This
it.
is what I'll be in.
I'm sure a lot of people will be dressed like that.
Probably. But yeah, we'll have a lot of people there from the sheriff's office. Our chief deputy usually comes, and it's a good time to just hang out with the kids and
Sure.
and provide a safe environment for them to trick or treat in, rather than some of the things here that I wanted to talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
So, there's a lot of things that go on, as we were talking about, that we need to be aware of on Halloween night. You see a lot of bad things happen to kids that are going around without a parent or things
Yeah.
like that. Some of the things that we recommend is make sure your kids trick or treat close and go to places that they know. Don't let them go several streets away from your home.
Trick-or-treat on Bishop Street's good
There
example.
you go, Bishop Street.
Come
a
on
lot of
down.
You
with
recommend parents going with their kids?
Absolutely,
Okay, that
yeah.
would be nice too.
And a lot of schools have trick or trunk type things that they're
Mm-hmm.
in the parking lot and whatnot. Murtaugh's having one of those things. They're having a chili feed, a safe environment. A lot of churches do the same thing.
Right.
Right.
Those are always, I think, a more ideal way to expose your kids to an environment where they can still get the feel of Halloween without going to homes where they don't know the people that are there.
Right.
Yeah, especially in this day and age, man.
Just avoid letting your kids go out alone. Send them with a parent or a trusted adult. Once they get back, examine all the treats for choking hazards. Make sure that it's store-bought candy, not homemade. You see people hand out caramel apples that they've made, and
Right.
you don't know.
My dad would always check the ones he liked. I think it was Snickers bars. Those were always the most dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
Then he would eat them to
Hey.
make sure we weren't.
Believe me, I did the same with my kids. Yeah, anything chocolate's always
I
dangerous.
know. This one looks suspect. Let me try it. So anything
Absolutely.
else? What about their costumes?
Some of the things we're talking about there is just make sure they're short fitting. You don't want them tripping over long
Right.
costumes. Make sure they're well lit so they don't get hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's pretty
nice.
dark. So.
Being on a Friday, there'll probably be kids trick-or-treating out later than normal, too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So if the lights are out, the kids shouldn't go up there for a couple reasons.
Right. You just don't know what's
Right.
there.
well,
and-
and if the lights are out, that generally means the people are not participating in Halloween.
But also,
so-
sex offenders have to have their lights out as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Right.
anyway, Kelly, you might be confused for a sex offender because your lights are out.
Yeah, well,
Oh,
my
wow.
lights are always
I
out
know.
anyway.
I know.
Sergeant Ken Minsel from the Twin Falls County Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, and
sir.
be safe
careful
out there.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with Bob Keegan, who's running for re-election on the CSI Board of Trustees here on Top Story. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. And this is chainsaw and leaf blower season, so why not an Echo chainsaw or Echo leaf blower from Clearwater Power Equipment in Twin Falls? They've been in the Wood River Valley for many, many years. And now they've expanded to the Twin Falls area, and they have a nice store there where General Building Supply used to be at 252 Washington Street. You can give them a call, 734-7767. If you're out cutting firewood or just kind of trimming up the trees for the winter ahead, or especially out there raking leaves. Nobody should rake leaves anymore. It should all be done with a leaf blower. And you can get it from Clearwater Power Equipment. So tell them we told you to call and ask them about their winter storage program, too, for your lawnmower. We have Bob Keegan with us. Bob Keegan has been on the CSI Board of Trustees since 2010. You're running for re-election. Good morning, Bob.
Yes,
Good
good morning.
So, there's a lot of news coming out of CSI right now.
There is.
And you've been on the board since 2010. So when people ask you about that, it seems like one day after the next, there's more news coming out. How do you respond to that? Seems like it's getting worse every day.
Well, it has been a very interesting last year and a half. I guess on the bright side, I thought our transition from one president to the next went very smooth, and I thought it was a good exercise for the board. The Cox issue, and the Edit Santos issue, I guess, are two of the big topics. And all I can say is, the board was very much aware of the process that led up to the separation, I will say, and fully backed the president in the decisions that were made on those. And then, the nasty one right now is the embezzlement charge. And it's just the embezzlement. It's not really a charge yet. And that's, the college has been very proactive in getting to the bottom of that, and it's really out of our hands now. Everything's been turned over to the prosecutor. I think it was the day before the article in the paper, so it's been a few weeks since that happened. So
the interesting thing on a few of those is the lack of transparency about this. The embezzlement, I think, took place in late September, but no one knew about it till September. Coach Cox was terminated in March 17th. No one knew about the settlement until August or September. And people are wondering why isn't the college being more transparent? And I think you even ran a more transparency for bidding. Why not transparency for things that are happening at the college?
Well, I think on the Cox deal, that's an employment issue, and I know there's complaints, well, the board's not saying anything. Well, the board, if you have 5 different people and you got 5 different people saying something, that's not really the right thing to do as a board. When you are a board member, you can be sued. Joe Blow citizen can say anything they want, and nobody's going to touch them. But when you're an elected board representative, there's legal issues.
But you said that the board, you were fully aware of what was happening with Coach Cox, but in the Times News, they said it was up to Jeff Fox and the administration. Are you saying the board was aware? Because actually his settlement was, he had time to review it for about 28 days prior to taking effect.
Yes. The editorial in last Sunday's paper was completely wrong. I think there was a misinterpretation of one of the other candidates' comments. I know the The board was aware of what was going on for a minimum of 6 weeks before the March 17th check. Dollar amount, what we were aware of was the process and what was going to happen. And the college legal our attorney recommended, that we pay a lump sum, and that's what we did. And the board does not vote on that, but we were very aware of everything that led up to that. We could have guessed, the dollar amount that was going to be north of 100 or more, more than that as a guesstimate. But, to us, the bottom line was not the dollar; it was what needed to be done. And I can't get into, what needed to be done or what happened. That's not right on my part.
Okay, so if you're reelected then for another term, are there some steps you would take maybe to keep stuff like this from happening? And because the perception is that there's bad stuff going on, and I know that we've really heard kind of just one side of it. So there's always the other side, but it just seems like whenever you say, well, we can't say anything about that, that leaves a perception of guilt of some sort. I don't know. Is there anything we can do to improve transparency?
Well, I guess the big issue is the dollar amount, because other than that, but before that, you can't talk, whether it's the Santos or the Cox deal. It's not. You do not say anything that could get you in trouble with the other side of the party.
But I guess the confusing part for people is that, he resigned. And so people are confused. Like, if you resign, and according to his contract, why would you pay him for another year and, I don't know, if through his entire contract, if he resigned? And that's the part that's confusing. What happened if there was no threat of litigation, which I believe the CSI attorney said in the article just 6 days ago. Why? Mm-hmm. That's what people are confused at. And when the president doesn't come out and say something, and the personnel guy, he's new, can't you understand why people are wondering, why would you pay that out of taxpayer dollars if he resigned?
I'm trying to be, there were options there for him, and one of them was resignation. I think.
So you're saying he was forced to resign?
If you're wondering why this all came down, maybe if you'd attended a game or two, you might have a clue. That's about all I can say on that. Recommendation from our attorney was to pay the contract out, and that's what we did. We followed his recommendation, and he got not 1 cent less and not 1 cent more than the contract. The lump sum deal, he's responsible for taxes on that. And, there was, I heard yesterday that that's maybe not right.
Yeah, was he an employee?
He's an employee, but, I'm trusting the operation at the college.
Because that's actually, I think, the reason your opponent is running. That's what she said yesterday on the show. She was concerned about that FICA wasn't withheld and that it was somehow changed to a 1099 person as opposed to an employee.
Absolutely positive that the college followed guidelines for that. I don't think they're just going to go and say, okay, let's just do this, and have never had it done before. I'm not an accountant, and I don't know, and I don't think I would bet that she's not right. She's guessing.
Okay, so if you are reelected, what would you like to see?
What would you like to see changed?
What would you like to see changed?
Because it seems like there's a whole list.
Well, I think there's always a talk. Well, there's a lot of dirty, or shady things that go on in the back room, and that has not been the case that I see. We're there. We have our own board attorney, Bob Alexander, who's been with the board for forever. He sits in every meeting and in executive session, and there's only a few things you can talk about, and one of them's employee issues, and the other one's property. And sometimes there'll be, can we talk about this? And it's either a yay or nay, and we want to branch out and it's very, he'll give you an answer, yes or no, you can talk about it, or no, you can't. I think I there was, I heard yesterday that, the age of the board is, age is one thing, that we're all, most of us are retired. Well, I'm a young retiree. I'm 64. Yeah. I think the board right now is, we've got 4 members. Carl and I are on 4 years, so that's 1 term. We've got Jan and Laird that are just halfway through their first term. So out of 5 people, we've got less than 1 term experience.
Oh, I see what's, yeah.
But then Thad's been there, 30-something years?
He's probably right at 30.
Yeah.
And it was probably, I'd say, a good thing. I mean, I was all for, I think we had this. I mean, we've changed 4 seats in 2 years is what we did on a 5-person board.
And you actually ran on term limits. You said you'd only run for 2 terms. Are you still, if you got reelected again?
I did not. I told myself if I got the position, I would serve a minimum of 2 years. I think that's the fair thing to do. Mm-hmm. Do I think that 8 terms or something like that's fair? No, I don't. But that is a personal call. And, term limits, that's a state mandated directive.
Well, I mean, you could do self-imposed, but I was going to ask you before we run out of time, because I think also, and this is a big thing that I hear around CSI, or actually around the community, again, I'm not from here, is the nepotism policy. I know it really hasn't been updated, and the word around town is it's who you know, who you're related to, and that's how you get a job at CSI, even though you're qualified. I've heard so many people haven't gotten interviews, and that's pervasive. How would you change that environment so to make it more open for people to have a job there?
To me, the nepotism issue has been visited by the board since I've been on, probably twice now.
What, have you changed the policy, or how have you changed it?
I guess we look at it, and I would say, when I came on the board, I mean, yes, there's lots of people that are related to each other that work out there.
Right.
But typically, I mean, if you have one person that's highly educated, the spouse is highly educated, and to say you can't work here because your husband or your wife works here is not right. What we've made sure to do is that there's no one spouse or relative is overseeing the other.
Directly, it'd have to be directly, yeah. Because Jeff Fox, I believe his wife teaches there, so that would be indirect. And we reviewed that
before Jeff was picked. I mean, it was a topic.
But what about the interview process? Because I do hear that a lot. Even if people that had the qualifications for the job can't even get interviews, I'm
not in the interview process. I'm not involved with that.
But does that concern you, that that's the reputation of CSI in town? Is that something you could do as a board to change this?
That's been the concern for as long as I can remember hearing about the board or about the board at the college. And I can tell you that we have reviewed it, and we think that we have a fair program in place.
We're just about out of time. Let's take those last few seconds to tell people why they should vote for you.
I think what I bring to the board is a business background. Been in, was in private business. My brothers and I ran a fresh pack potato company for 33 years, and with about 50 employees. And I think that's what I bring that's different than the other 4 members, is more of a business approach, dealing with more people.
Yeah. And now your next term will be for how long?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you like to see changed that you could change from going forward if you're reelected?
If you were in charge today and could change something, what would it be?
Well, say if I was in charge, I think what we're missing here is the students.
Yeah.
Because enrollment has gone down since the fall of last year, right?
Yeah, but we're only down, I think it's 4.5% or 5% now, and we were budgeting down 8%. Because usually when the economy picks up, education tapers off.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. But I think the good thing this year was they put in place a little more, really trying to almost hound the students that were getting signed up to and follow up and calls and get them in the door. And then they did an extended registration night, which was very good. They got a lot more people because a lot of the students there are not your typical 9 to 5 or daytime
exactly
student.
Right.
So I thought that was good. But I think the student, as long as we provide for the student and do a good job for the student, everything else will be fine.
Bob, we're out of time. Thank
Bob,
you very much.
you.
Bob Keegan, re-election for the CSI Board of Trustees. We appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you, Kelly.
We have Democrat Holli Woodings running for Secretary of State this next hour here on Top Stories. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Top Story, 7360300. Always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Kelly. Same to you.
45 right now.
Oh, good.
That's not my age. That's the temperature.
Yeah.
To be 45 again.
You wish. Okay. But you digress.
Yes, I do. Hey, we have Holli Woodings with us this morning. She's a Democratic candidate for Secretary of State. Good morning.
Good morning, Holly.
Good morning. Thanks for having me this morning.
You're kind of on the way through Twin Falls, headed for eastern Idaho, I guess, huh?
I am. We're headed to Pocatello later today, and then tomorrow at lunch I'll speak at Idaho Falls City Club.
All right.
Great.
How's the campaign going?
It's going very well. It's, in the home stretch, I'm finally getting tired, and I'm ready for it to be done with.
It's been a long time. Now, you're currently in the state legislature, correct?
Yes, I am. I've been serving as a representative for District 19 for 2 years.
So why did you decide to run for Secretary of State?
I decided to run when Ben Isursa decided to retire. I knew that we needed somebody there to run who would, run to maintain his legacy of honesty and fairness in that office. And so I'm happy to be here to do that.
Coming from what's your background other than the Idaho legislature?
I have a background in land development, and my husband and I also have a software company. So kind of both that rural land development and that more technological-based career.
So someone might ask, what qualifies you to be Secretary of State?
Well, it's, I consider myself a public servant, and that's really what we need in this position. Somebody who's willing to maintain the level of customer service that the Secretary of State's office has always given to Idahoans. And, that's what we do in our company. We, always focus on our customers, and that's exactly what we need for a Secretary of State as well.
And so for people who aren't familiar with the duties of the Secretary of State, you want to enlighten them and what you would be over.
Yeah, absolutely. The primary duty is to be the chief elections officer of the state. So we provide the county clerks with the resources that they need to administer their elections according to the law. And we also serve on the land board, and of course that board oversees the state endowment, which goes to fund K through 12 education, which is very important to me. And also we have a lot of, just sort of business functions. We're the registrar of businesses in the state. We maintain the, lien registry. We maintain wills and, just
or if someone wants to start a business, they have to go to the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah, we're kind of their first touch for that.
What would you do to improve any of the duties of the Secretary of State's office if you were to be elected?
There's not a lot of change that needs to happen. What I would like to do is to focus a little bit more on getting people involved and engaged in voting. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. We have one of the lowest voter registration rates among those who are eligible in the country. So we can focus.
That is sad.
It is.
Why do you
pretty
think
sad.
that is?
We have a unique situation where we don't register people to vote at the DMV, which a lot of other states do.
Yeah.
And so I proposed that legislation in the last session to get more people on the voter rolls, because what we know about voter behavior is if they're already registered, they're more likely to turn out at the polls. Mm-hmm. But we do also have same-day voter registration, which is a great convenience for Idaho voters. And the second part of that is educating voters. A lot of our neighboring states have voter guides that go out to every registered voter before every election, and it has information on all of the candidates as well as any ballot measures that will be on their ballot. And I think that's something that we could provide in a very cost-effective manner. We already send one out for constitutional amendments, so it would just be a matter of adding pages to that.
As Secretary of State, of course, you would be on the land board.
Yes.
Which is responsible for getting money for schools, I guess, to kind of put it simply. As your position on there, is there anything going on there now that you would improve upon or change?
Well, our current Secretary of State is the head of a committee that's looking at our total portfolio of investments and looking at where those investments are performing the best and where those investments will be performing in the future. So I think that's a great process. We'll have a more realistic idea of where we need to be putting money, because what's happening right now is we're divesting our interest in some lakefront cottage lots.
Right.
And so we have some revenue coming in from those auctions that we need to figure out what we're going to do with those revenues.
I think it was 60 properties that they put up for auction. Is that right?
Yeah,
At the Priest Lake cabins.
There were 60 on Priest Lake, and there'll be right around that number going up for auction on Payette Lake.
Okay.
This fall. So we're going to have to figure out what we want to do with that revenue.
The state has been criticized for actually doing some commercial business. I think it was the storage units.
Yeah.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I think what they were doing with the storage unit was inappropriate. They basically owned and operated a private business, which isn't what we should be doing. We should be focused on land. And land means the ground and anything that's built on top of it. So whether that's a commercial building that we're then leasing to a private business, or commercial grazing land that we're leasing to a grazing business, or commercial timberland that we're selling board feet off of, those are the kinds of investments we should be looking at.
Now, it's rumored around the country that Idaho is kind of a red state, kind of conservative.
I know.
You've heard that too?
Yeah. How could you work with a Republican legislature as Secretary of State? Do you think that'll work?
Oh man, I already work with a Republican legislature
I know, right?
every day, right? And to me, when I was campaigning for legislature, people would always ask me, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? And I'm a realist. I mean, I understand that I can't get in there and just kind of gung-ho make massive scale changes. Not that that's needed. But one of the things that I did is I went in and I really view my service as forming relationships with the other people that I serve with, making sure that I know what their values are so that we can then pass really good policy for the people of Idaho that benefits our entire state. And doing that built on shared values. For example, I co-sponsored a bill in the last legislative session with a Republican legislator from up north that called on the federal government to stop bulk data collection on Idahoans. So, it's those kind of things where we can find those shared values and make good policy and good solutions for the people of Idaho.
So right now across the country, and it's predominantly Republican Secretary of States, have actually, I think, limited voting. They've had a lot of lawsuits that have stopped some of these voter ID laws. They've stopped certain forms of ID. How do you feel about this? Would you make any changes where you would limit voter expansion, or would you try to expand it as much as possible?
Well, we have a good voter ID law in this state that serves us well. We don't have voter fraud. And so I think that that's something that's very important to remember. And what's happening in a lot of states is rather than voters choosing their politicians, politicians are increasingly choosing their voters. Mm-hmm. And I think that's wrong. I think the greater turnout and involvement that we have in the voting process, the better and more representative our government is. And so that's my focus, is getting more people turned out.
So there was a big uproar a couple years ago about closing the Republican primary. And we had a caller the other day saying, why is the state paying for a closed Republican primary? Shouldn't the Republicans pay for it? What is your view on closing the Republican primary? Would you want to open it? Because I actually have neighbors, 86-year-old neighbor who's not voting out of protest for that, but will vote in the general election. Have you heard the same things?
I've heard the same thing all around the state. Idahoans, by and large, we're independents. We don't want to be pigeonholed. We don't want to pledge our allegiance to one party or another. we may predominantly vote for one political party, but we still consider ourselves independents. And so that has led to lower voter turnout, I believe, in the primary.
But it only seems, I don't know, to me it makes common sense to allow the party to choose their candidate rather than just let everybody in the state choose a candidate. Now, the general election's a different matter. But in the primary, I mean, that's just kind of the way I see it. And I know a lot of people see it that way.
Maybe the Republicans should pay for their own primary.
Well, and
as
yeah,
opposed
what
to
do
the
you think about
taxpayers,
that?
how do
That
you
is a
view
good
that?
question.
Well, and I think that the parties couldn't afford to administer the primary in the way that the state administers the primaries and the counties administer them. So I think that it would end up going to a caucus system, which is what they have in Utah. And then you have lower numbers of people choosing the candidates for the parties. So, the Democratic primary is still open.
Yes,
and
it is.
So, that's really my skin in the game.
The other thing I was going to ask you, because I believe your opponent, I think, is talking about maybe eliminating same-day registration for Election Day, or same-day registration to vote, actually. How do you feel about that?
Well, the interesting thing about that is we have, nationally the Voter Rights Act. And so if we did away with same-day voter registration, we would then be subject to a provision in that act that would require us to do DMV voter registration.
Okay, so it's either or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we kind of got in with our same-day voter registration and exempted ourselves from that provision. So if we did away with that, we would no longer be exempt. So I think that same-day registration is great. It actually leads to greater voter turnout, but I would be an advocate of doing both.
Okay.
Both having same-day and DMV voter registration.
It seems like that would make sense, especially people moving here from another state. You get your new license, you should register to vote.
Right.
I would think.
Or you move,
right.
And you don't go to the DMV and update your driver's license right away, but you want to vote in your new precinct. Mm-hmm. So some of those things make a lot of sense.
Are you confident that Idaho's on the right track as far as fighting voter fraud?
I think so.
Seems like we've done a pretty good job so far, but there's always those chances. And it seems like each time you open up another avenue for people to register and such, it seems like you're kind of sticking your neck out a little bit more.
Well, the ways that we do it now are very secure. If you did it through the DMV, that's probably the most secure way because you're qualifying voters while they're getting their driver's license, and so that makes a lot of sense. But same-day registration, it does lead to increased voter turnouts. Very few of those registrations, sometimes they'll be missing a signature, somebody forgot to check off a box, and so those have to go back and be amended. But, it's a secure process, and I have a lot of faith in it.
The Secretary of State's office is kind of an apolitical position.
Should be.
It should be.
It should be, I guess.
Should be.
As you travel around the state, what concerns do people bring up to you as far as the Secretary of State's office?
They want to know that the Secretary of State is there to serve the people of Idaho and not to serve a political agenda or a political party. And that's, I think, the most important thing. And that's what we've had for, going on 50 years. We've had somebody in that position serving the public in that way. And so people understand that, and people understand what's at stake in this election for that reason.
Now, with your technology background, you thought of some ways where maybe technology could help the Secretary of State's office. Would you like to expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I've wanted for Idaho for a long time is a voter guide app. So an app that you can download to a smartphone that will tell you who's going to be on your ballot. And so I created that as part of my campaign. Hired a couple of young mobile app
12-year-olds.
developers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, not quite 12.
I swear, all of
They
the
were
kids.
16.
Yeah, whatever.
They're in their mid-20s,
Right.
Boise State grads.
Okay,
but,
great.
smart kids who know their stuff, and we're very excited to build this app. And it's called Ida Votes. It has an exclamation point at the end, and you can find it on the Android or iTunes stores, and it's free to download, completely impartial information.
Well, with that, we'll turn you loose. Holli Woodings,
Holli,
thank you very
best of
much.
luck.
Democrat Secretary of State, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Kelly and Jill. I appreciate it.
And this is Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX. We'll be right back with some more news. 7360300, the number to call here this morning on Top Story. And yesterday's $100 instant winning name. Oh, by the way,
Yes?
the word of the day is brought to you by the Happy Landing Restaurant.
Yeah.
I will be going there today at
Will
noon
you?
for my noon luncheon with our ham radio club.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah. So, hey, if you're interested in ham radio, I mean, come on out and join us for lunch.
Yeah.
We'll
go have lunch with the Kelly class.
Yeah, that's right. We can talk and we can brag and we can lie as much as anybody.
Yeah,
we have a good time.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's at the Happy Landing restaurant where if it's your first time visit and you purchase a drink, coffee or
pop,
milk or pop or
soda,
something like that,
you
get a free piece of pie.
That's
homemade stuff.
I'm sure you came up with that promotion because that sounds like exactly something you would come up with. Free pie
Every
for
time
everyone.
I go out there to eat, I tell them this is my first time. Can I have a free pie?
Yeah, exactly. How's that working for you,
But
Cal?
at any rate, yesterday's $100, and they're at the airport, Twin Falls Airport. And you don't have to be flying anywhere in order to eat at the Happy Landing restaurant, Twin Falls Airport. Yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Charles Hankins.
Charles Hankins, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is, and I don't know how this relates to Halloween.
Did they finally blow it on the 23rd day?
I don't know. Slug?
Slug?
S-L-U-G. Slug.
Well, aren't slugs those little gross things?
Yeah.
Slugs?
Are they related to Halloween?
They're gross.
Well,
they're creepy.
Maybe that's
scary.
Anyway, that's the word of the day. Go to our website, newsradio1310.com. Click on word of the day. Type in slug. Listen tomorrow. If you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, you win $100. Tomorrow's our winner's lunch, too, by the way. At Canyon Crest Dining and Event Center.
That's right. It's so exciting.
I'm getting hungry already.
And we didn't do the one ad yet, but we'll talk about our lunch yesterday. What?
Our lunch yesterday.
And then
How's that associated with an ad?
Canyon Pond. Then we went to Canyon Pond. We were going to lunch and then Canyon Pond.
I thought you meant the lunch.
No, our little day out. Yeah. We had our little day out.
Our little shopping excursion.
Included lunch. You can't have a day out without lunch. Got to be one of the girls, Cal. It's always lunch.
I know. I don't know.
You're looking at me like I have 3 heads, which is usually different because you look at me like I have 2 heads normally.
Well, normally, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have some more news that we weren't able to get to at the beginning of the show because of the terrorist attack in Canada. The Ebola thing, it kind of seems to be winding down a little bit here.
People are surviving. 2
infected Americans are cured. Nigeria and Senegal are Ebola-free. And dozens of people who came in contact with now-deceased Ebola patient Thomas Eric Duncan did not get the virus, which to me is a miracle.
They were in that apartment for 4 days with his dirty refuse stuff, clothes, everything, nothing. They got nothing.
And his girlfriend, I mean, she was in bed with him. So,
there you go.
At any rate, and then there's Nurse Vinson, Texas nurse Amber Vinson, being treated for Ebola at Atlanta's Emory University Hospital, is steadily regaining her strength and her spirits are high.
They say they can't detect the virus in her body anymore, but it's interesting because the nurse before her still has it, but this one doesn't. It's a shorter amount of time.
Wow, interesting stuff.
10 days.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is a good time for our scientists to learn a lot more about this disease.
Well, we are actually going to, and the good news was Bentley, her doggy.
Bentley the dog
has no signs of Ebola.
That wasn't this nurse's dog, though. That's
Nurse Fam's
Nurse
dog.
Fam.
Yeah.
Bentley is found to be negative for Ebola, and I think either will be or has been reunited with his mommy.
No, he hasn't yet.
He hasn't yet.
No,
but
because she's still in the hospital.
Well, I guess that's right.
So the Texas vet hospital is taking care of Bentley, and they say they've fallen in love with him.
Oh,
which,
of course.
Just looking at him, how could you not?
She'll probably have a hard time getting her dog back.
I'm sorry, can you prove this is your dog?
Yeah, right. How do we know this is your dog?
We've changed his name. It's not Bentley.
Yeah. And regarding Nurse Fam, the condition of her, like Vincent, contracted Ebola after treating Duncan, has been upgraded from fair to good.
Mm-hmm. So. The other thing I was going to say is we are having my niece-in-law from Sierra Leone on next week. I had lunch with her.
You either know them or related to them. I've never seen anything like this.
The
You talk about a
contact I
subject.
have-
I have a relative who fill in the blank.
Who's from Sierra Leone,
Yeah.
whose mother still lives in Sierra Leone. And we had lunch the other day, and she's telling me all this about it. I'm like, Millie, you have to come on the air because there's so much misinformation. And she will tell you the origins of what people thought, what people don't think, what's happening now, the laws they passed about dead bodies. So it'll be very interesting. We're going to be able to get her on next Thursday. She'll be on from 9 till probably the end of the hour because it's so interesting. She has a very strong accent, though, so I'm telling her to work on her R's. They have a very guttural R. It's like,
Yeah.
But lovely, and talking about inside view of Ebola.
Wow, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I tell you, you're a veritable plethora of contacts. It's amazing.
It is pretty
What do we talk
interesting.
about today? Well, let's talk about this. Oh, yeah, I have a relative
I'll
who's
call
into that,
them.
or I've lived there, or something. So at any
Well,
rate,
see, that's why you have me on the show, Cal.
I guess so. And that's the only reason.
yeah,
You're just good for contacts.
Yeah.
We'll be right back here on Top Story, 7360300. And we're back. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. You know, Jill took me out yesterday for a birthday lunch.
I did.
And it was very
Because
nice
that's the kind of gal I am.
Yes, thank you very much. I had a good time at Scooters, and
Your birthday is Saturday, but tomorrow's our winter's lunch, and I didn't feel like I should do a twofer on that. Like,
right.
I'll call this our lunch.
And my family's taking me out Friday night, so this is going to be.
Where are they going to take you?
I don't know yet.
Ooh, it's a
haven't made that decision.
So after lunch, we then went to
Canyon Pond.
And
Yeah.
Dave did not listen to the show yesterday and did not know we were coming.
And
but
he did not
thank goodness
have
he
the
was
red
there.
carpet set out for Jill.
No, he did not. And Daniel was there. We met as an employee, Daniel,
Yeah.
and looked around. It was beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it's a nice store. And you really liked his gun cabinets.
He made them himself
yes.
from wood. I mean, really, the woodwork is amazing. He did all of his cabinets himself. And I
he
was
said
like,
he self-admits he's not a woodworker, but he just
shocking.
got
Beautiful.
the glass and built the cabinet around it. So.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Anyway, he's got a lot of stuff there at Canyon Pond, and it's on Shoshone Street, right across from Will's Toyota, on 3rd Avenue South. And nice big store. It's clean. It's like you said, you can walk in, you don't have to worry about getting dirty, and that's true. It's a nice, clean store.
It's beautiful.
Got everything on the shelves you can imagine. It's typical Pond's shop, and it changes every day. So stop in and see him. Tell him hi. Tell him that Kelly and Jill sent you in. And see what he's got. All kinds of guns.
He's got a lot of stuff.
He does have a lot of good stuff. We do have more news to talk about here this morning.
Is that possible?
I know. This was kind of a good news day, actually.
Yeah.
Police say a Clearwater, Florida woman set her boyfriend on fire during an argument after a night of drinking.
Well, that part surprises me.
According to police, 33-year-old Melissa Dawn Sellers doused Carlos Ortiz Jr. with nail polish remover early Wednesday and then ignited him with either a lighter or burned cigarette.
Who knew it caught on fire? Who knew it was flammable?
The 42-year-old Ortiz was taken to a Tampa General Hospital in critical condition.
I bet.
Police say he has burns on his face, chest, and shoulders. Sellers left the scene before police arrived, but returned and was arrested. She's charged with attempted murder.
I know. I was like, why not? I don't know. Domestic violence. Like you hear that all the time the other way. And it's like, oh, it's domestic violence. And a lot of times because it was your wife back in the day, it was like no big deal. But you know what? No one should act this way. I don't, did she know it was flammable? Probably.
Of course she did. I mean,
but you said something else about her. What did you say?
Well, she was still on probation from an earlier deal.
Yeah.
Apparently she bit a chunk out of a store clerk's arm for some reason. I don't know what it didn't really say, but she got mad at a store clerk over something. So she kind of has some anger management issues.
I think she needs that.
So anyway,
crazy stuff. Watch out with the nail remover.
Watch out for 33-year-old Melissa Dawn Sellers.
Hopefully she's in jail and not to be heard from again. And then Sherry Ibarra. It's like the story that keeps on giving. Did you read this one?
I did.
Oi. Does she have anyone helping her on her campaign?
I wouldn't be surprised if no is the answer.
Okay, yeah.
I think she's trying to do
Can
this
you do that
campaign.
in the form of a question, Kelly? What is no?
I think she's trying to do this with very little outlay and she's cutting a lot of corners and has no one to help her when she says things.
The latest thing is that she's claimed throughout her campaign, and I think I remember her saying this too because I've watched 2 of her debates, to be closing in on her doctorate in education at the University of Idaho. But U of I spokeswoman Andrea Barlow said Ibarra was awarded an educational specialist degree with an emphasis in education leadership in August, not a doctorate. Those are 2 different things.
And apparently they're quite different.
Quite different. The University of Idaho's educational specialist degree requires 30 credits above a master's degree, Barlow said. A doctorate requires extensive additional study, exams, and a dissertation. The specialist degree has an emphasis on superintendency. In essence, it gives Ibarra an endorsement to work as a district superintendent. Anyway, it's not uncommon for educators to seek this degree and work as a superintendent while pursuing a doctorate, but the route she has taken is pretty much common, but apparently she's not.
Yeah, well, the crux of the matter is that she said she was working toward a doctorate, and the university says, well, not here, she's not. So,
okay, one more misstep. I don't understand, but again, according to her the other day, her brain does not work in the past. Perhaps she forgot that, she was studying for doctorate. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with her, but she must not have anyone helping her, a campaign manager, PR someone. And
she's still working full time in the Mountain Home School District. So
and she's leading in the polls. Are you kidding me? Kidding me?
She's
and
probably
she hasn't
fully
voted
capable.
Since '96. Are you kidding me?
She's probably that doesn't bother me.
That
so much.
bothers me. If my friends hadn't voted from '96, I would look down on them.
She's fully capable of being in that position, but some of the missteps she's taken because she's not a campaigner, she is an educator. It's
sorry.
People
so
are
kind
of
other
getting
people.
The wrong impression. I'm just saying.
Come on. After a few missteps, you can't afford more missteps.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, she's kind of.
You got to step up your game.
She kind of has to step up here. We'll be right back. 736-0300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. You've heard us talking about the low and honey loader. Well, I'm here to talk about it again. If you have just a few cattle or a dog or a cat or something like that, the low and honey loader probably.
What if I had 300 cats?
Is not in your future.
One?
Well, 300 cats, you might be approaching that.
Okay.
You might be approaching that. If you have a lot of livestock, the low and honey loader might be in your future. And if you are interested in one, you can get a hold of Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company, and he can set you up so you can see one of these in operation before you make that decision. And if you decide, say, yep, that's for me, then Pat can pull out the contract and make a deal right there. 280-1167 is his number. That's 280-1167, Pat Hartzell with Stanley and Company. We got a caller. Let's take it. Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Kelly, Jill forgets that most of these opponents have a D behind their name, and you got to look at what the Democrats stand for, abortion and homosexuality and big government. And so that's why maybe some of the Republicans aren't too stellar, but it isn't hard to beat one of those Democrats with a D behind their name.
Really? Yeah, because superintendent of schools deals with abortion and gay marriage and all those things. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't even know why.
He's got a valid point. There are a lot of people who are going to vote against Janet Jones because of the D.
Well, that's
in Idaho.
That's
are you kidding?
sad.
That's
why
what
don't
we
you?
Do.
Well, then look at the candidate. When you talk about low information voters, when everyone's criticizing people, all people shouldn't vote. Talking about low information voters, if you just use that behind their name, I voted for Republicans, and so I look at the person and I look at what they're going to stand for. And in this case, I think, I am sorry, but how many more missteps? I've seen the debates, I've watched them, I've evaluated, and I just don't think she's up for the job.
Oh, I don't know. I think she's probably up for the job, but she does have some missteps that are giving I think, the wrong impression. So, and that's unfortunate.
Think?
That's unfortunate. So anyway, time will tell, though, because the election's coming up November 4th.
Tuesday, November 4th.
So we'll be able to see.
So why don't you do a little more research about both candidates?
There's a very important story here I wanted to talk about, and that's about a panty raid. A literal panty raid. Peregrine Honig. That's quite a name. Peregrine Honig says she was just wanting to celebrate the hometown team when she designed the Lucky Royals boy shorts. Boy shorts are literally underwear for men.
What underwear?
The panties with Take the Crown and KC across the rear were set to be sold in Honig's Birdie's Panties Shop Monday in Kansas City. But since they've already taken care of ISIS and all of the other big issues of the country, Homeland Security agents visited the Crossroads store and confiscated a few dozen pair of underwear printed in Kansas City by Lindquist Press. They came in here, and there were two guys, she said. I asked one of them what size he needed. And he showed me a badge and took me outside instead. They told me they were from Homeland Security, because this was a national security issue after all.
Well, when you find out why,
and she was
you'll
violating
figure out the power.
Copyright laws. Now, to be fair, I guess it is up to the Department of Homeland Security to handle copyright issues.
Well,
Somebody's
they do
violating copyright, so
well, on many levels, but the deal is
seems to me like overkill. But hey.
No, they do that all the time. knockoffs and stuff.
Well, but the Department of Homeland Security hasn't been around forever.
But what you're failing to say,
the Bush administration.
Well, it just means things are underneath it. It's an umbrella department. But the thing that you forgot to say is it's Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball copyright. Now, if you deal with the NFL and Major League Baseball and the National Hockey League, are you kidding me? They're out there watching for all of this. They will confiscate your stuff, because if they just sent her a letter, she could still sell that stuff, which would then harm them, because they will say they can't sell their panties with the copyright logo on there. That is what the deal is. I mean, it's not just because they're wanting. Major League Baseball is watching out for this everywhere.
I understand that.
And that's how it works.
It just kind of flummoxed me that the Department of Homeland Security sends two armed agents into a panties shop because they put the Kansas City Royals logo on the seat of the pants.
But when they do knockoffs in New York and you're selling designer knockoffs and you got the store right down the street, are you kidding me? They want you to raid those as well. It happens all the time. Or stuff that comes in from customs where other countries are knocking off our copy. It's a huge business.
She thought that since the underwear featured her hand-drawn design, that she was safe.
Yeah.
But the officers explained that by connecting the K and the C, she infringed on Major League Baseball's copyright. They placed the underwear in an official Homeland Security bag, and Honig signed a statement saying that she would not use the logo. We just thought it was something funny we could do, Honig said of the panties, but it was so scary.
Well, I'm sure it would be. You're trying to sell him panties. And he's like, come with me.
Here comes two armed agents from Homeland Security. You're under
you know
arrest.
What? Trademarks, copyrights are huge things, huge money. And when I worked at Reebok, they had, I think, 3 trademark paralegals, 2 trademark attorneys, a patent attorney. It is big stuff. That is your money. You go after.
Before we run out of time, she did say you are not able to wear Lucky Royals boy shorts from Birdie's, but you can still buy a pair of Crown-inspired pasties if you're feisty. So there you go.
So she doesn't have a pasty that says K and C?
Apparently not.
Would that be a problem?
That might be a problem. Department of Homeland Security would definitely read them then.
Good thing it's KFC.
Right. It's time now for the Huckabee Report. And you can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger, financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563. Trick or Treat on Bishop Street is coming up.
It is.
And that's a week from tomorrow.
That's right, Friday.
Halloween. What happened to October?
No idea.
And
it's so frustrating. I feel like things are flying by so quickly, and Well,
they say the older you get, the faster time flies.
Yeah. Saturday we'll be at the farmer's market, though.
Yeah, Saturday you'll be at the farmer's market. And a week from tomorrow, we'll be at Trick or Treat on Bishop Street. Mm-hmm. I have the best costume ever.
Don't tell anyone, but that's hard for Kelly.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You already told it yesterday. I was like, you cannot keep a secret.
I didn't make it public though.
No.
Anyway, this will be at the Fred Meyer parking lot on Blue Lakes. Bish's RV will be there with their RVs lined up in a big circle. Bring the kids, and they can go around and trick or treat on Bishop Street, doing it safely with mom and dad, and just bring a non-perishable item to get in for the South Central Community Action Partnership. And it's going to be a blast, just like last year. Dress up, of course. It is Halloween, after all.
It is Halloween.
And then afterwards, it starts at 3:30, goes till 6. And at 6 o'clock, you'll still have time to go out and do whatever you want to do for Halloween.
Or maybe
go home.
Eat dinner, and then eat your candy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll be on a sugar high.
Eat dinner comprised of candy. You know, I mean, hey, that's kind of what it's about.
Is that what it's about, Cal?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember
it's all about the candy.
My mom used to always make us these, she would call them Halloween hamburgers. And we'd have to, like she'd decorate the patty with like ketchup and pickles and olives and lettuce, because when we were little, and then you get excited about eating it. Yeah. Halloween hamburgers. So we'd have something in our stomach back in the day before you had junk.
Yeah. Back in the day when you still ate meat.
I was probably like in 5th grade or something, but I remember she'd always, do something special to entice you to eat dinner, which was nice, clever.
Did you eat all of yours?
Yeah, I wasn't a big eater when I was little, but I probably did. I know I thought they were really cute, and my sister would do it for her kids. Halloween hamburgers.
Yeah, well, sometimes you don't want to eat it and mess it up. It's like a beautiful wedding cake or something. Seems a shame to cut into it and eat it when people put their heart and soul into making one of those, and they are works of art. Some of them are.
Yeah,
now.
But you eat it.
So.
Anyway, we ate the Halloween hamburgers.
Okay.
Just a tip for moms out there, if you want. It could be a chicken head, whatever. Just
a chicken
feed your
head.
kids.
Is that what you said?
You just be like a chicken burger. I mean, anything.
A chicken burger.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
Anything. Bean burger. Who cares?
Who do we have tomorrow?
Oh my gosh! Tomorrow we have, CSI, and we have Forever Plaid, the Magic Valley Arts Council with Rob Newman and Carolyn White. And then we have Carmen Babb from Psychiatric Services for Idaho. Came up a month or so ago about Optima, the mental health provider.
All right.
A lot of interesting information.
Another big day tomorrow. See you then. Have a good one. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.